so that we make good use of your time. For those of you who came to join us, thank you. I love that we have a guest sporting a Trail Foundation t-shirt.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love it. We've got friends in the crowd. Hi. Hi. So I've just introduced myself, but I'm Heidi Anderson. I'm the Executive Director of the Trail Foundation. And the Trail Foundation, I'll be brief and just give a little overview, is an organization. Our mission is to protect, enhance, and connect the hike and bike trail, which is the entire 10-mile loop trail that surrounds Lady Bird Lake from Mopac down to Pleasant Valley. And we have been in existence for 15 years, during which that time we started as an organization of just a handful, 3 or 4 volunteers with a table popped up on the trail and a tip jar, just asking the trail users if they wanted to give some money to help us do some work on the trail. The Parks and Recreation Department actually manages and really maintains the 199 acres park on which the trail sits, but their resources, as we all know from the city budget, are tight. And so there are a lot of groups like the Trail Foundation around town that have popped up over time to help support the needs of our parks and trails that the city just simply can't fund. And so our focus is specifically for this trail and these 199 acres. In our 15-year lifetime, we've done about 15 projects, and we're very proud of those projects. We've had 3 restrooms already that we have installed. One's the Miro Rivera restroom, which is kind of a circular restroom by Rainy Street. The Heron Creek restrooms kind of look like big metal sails, and they're over closer to Lamar at Cesar Chavez, and then Johnson Creek down at Mopac. We've done a lot of water access points and seating areas. Our biggest signature event and project that we've done in a partnership with the Parks and Recreation Department is the boardwalk on the east side, but on the southeast side. And I started as the Trail Foundation's executive director just about a year ago. And when I came into the organization, the board was already deep into a lot of strategic planning to see kind of what was next for the Trail Foundation in this moment of transition. And what we all agreed upon is that we needed to pick up our pace. That the trail, we know, and this statistic is 2 years old now, has 2.6 million visits a year. And that number is only growing. We had 4 counters at the time, now we have 6 or 7. And we'll have better data at the end of this year to tell us how many visits each year the trail is getting. And it does tell us if it's pedestrian or cyclists. And it's also going to help us understand where the traffic is and when the traffic is. But we knew that if the use of the trail was going to grow and continue to grow, as Austin is, that we were going to have to do more. And so we did a lot of internal planning with community input to decide what we needed to be doing next. And we released and announced 15 projects in honor of our 15th anniversary that we would be focusing on for the foreseeable future. We don't know how long this is going to take us, but we know they all need to happen, or some semblance of them needs to happen. But we have to find funding and work with city permitting and communities and make sure we're getting it all right. So of these 15 projects, which are available to be seen on our website, or we can send you those maps if you're interested. There are 2 that are trail-wide. One is a master signage plan we're putting together. The other one is our ecological restoration work, and really that's our boots on the ground, day-to-day work that we do to just sustain the trail. So that's when we're doing invasive removals and plantings of natives and wildflower meadows and things like that. We've just tried to double our efforts in that area. And that's something, like I said, we try to do every day and ongoingly. 4 projects are on the west side or central, and then there are 9 on, is my math right? I don't even know, I may have gotten that wrong. But I do know there are 9 on the east side. And so we're really trying to focus our efforts on the east side of the trail and enhance and protect and connect it as best we can, offering the communities on this side of I-35 everything they need and want for this area. So Restrooms are on the list, as you will see tonight, our first one. Water access points where you can more easily get to the water are on the list. Trailheads, water fountains, those kinds of things. So we're really excited about our future and where we're coming. And we're excited very much about this particular project, which was part of the Holly Master Plan, but it didn't end up in the final funding for it. So we stepped in with our partnership with PARD to help support this project and make sure that Festival Beach had an active, usable, functioning, and, and enticing and pretty, as you will see, restroom. So we're excited you're here tonight. Thank you for being here. We would love to hear from you back and get your input on how we're doing and where we're going next. And with that, I want to introduce just a few people here. Beth is our project director at the Trail Foundation. She's been with us quite a long time. We've got PARD representatives, Ray Hernandez and Deanne Williams right here, who we work with closely, who sit on committees with us, and we're grateful for their partnership. Al is a board member. He's tucked in the back there. Susan Benz is representing our project management group, and then these two lovely ladies are architects. And and so I'm going to let Anna and Camille hop up here and get to the part you're really excited about.
Hi everyone, thank you for being here today. So my name is Ada Corral and this is Camille Job, and we are Job Corral Architects. And we're very excited about working on this project. You know, from a personal side, we are both heavy trail users. Camille's a rower and I run. And we both live on the east side also. And we also think it's a really exciting opportunity to work on this part of our city. So whenever we start working on a project, the two things we pay a lot of attention to is the site where this building is going to live and the people who are going to be using the site. So we started here by looking at what we had to work with. And we have this part of the trail that is a really unique condition that is very different to a lot of other places around the trail or around the lake, because most places you have a trail that is just next to the water and you're just passing through. But here at Festival Beach, you really have the opportunity to spend time there because the trail expands into a park, right? So it's a place where you actually can stop and rest and enjoy the water and enjoy the park. So we're seeing it as a place where the ground meets the water, right? So we have wind, sky, ground, and water. We also started evaluating the existing bathroom that we had there. So we know that the bathroom really has inadequate plumbing. There's a lot of some serious plumbing issues going on in the bathroom. We're also concerned about safety there because the existing restroom is really tucked in under a tree. It's not very visible to the point where a lot of people don't even recognize that it's there. So that poses some safety concerns. And then the other part that we did was that we reached out to the people in the neighborhood. And we sent out a survey and we asked a lot of questions about how people use the trail and what they wanted to see, what they didn't want. And what we got a lot of responses about just general park restrooms in terms of, you know, cleanliness, smells, hygiene, safety. And we also got a comment about how people really love this red roof tile in this existing restroom. So when we started looking at it, we started thinking about the materials that we can use and how we can reinvent the materials that are in the existing restroom. So the other thing I forgot to say, so we have the roof tile here, and then these walls are tilt-up concrete walls. So we started with the roof that we can use a similar strategy to the red roof clay tile with a little variation to it.
I don't know if you want to be interrupted with questions.
I think it'd be best if we can wait till the end.
Okay.
That's okay. And it's an opportunity to bring color if we do a glazed tile, some interesting patterns and maybe some interesting shapes to it. And then the other side would be using the same idea of the concrete walls, but with another little variation to it. So We have the opportunity of having different textures and different looks with the concrete. So here are just some examples. Our thought was on the inside where the toilets are, we can have something like that where it's a very polished surface and you can grind it down and maybe get some of that exposed aggregate, but it would be a very wipeable material that wouldn't absorb or get dirty. And then on the outside, we could have different textures or patterns or shapes that we can do with the concrete and really play with it. It was really important to us that this restroom is very specific to this place and that it's unique. A lot of the other restrooms along the trail have a lot of raw steel. I don't know if you guys have seen them. So we wanted this one to be different, to be colorful, a little bit more playful, and respond to that setting of the park that we have here that is different than the others. Okay.
So does everyone know exactly where this is in the park? Okay, yes, I-35 going this way, and then you have Nash Hernandez Road. And did everyone know where the restroom was before this meeting? Has anyone used it?
Before that one? Are you saying before this one?
This one. Has everyone used this one?
Before tonight.
Is everyone familiar with the current restroom? Yes. So what you're seeing is a little patch of the red roof sort of tucked under the trees there. And what you see next to that, that looks like sort of a blue leaf at this point, would be the new restroom. Oh. So the strategy that we are using, we looked at we looked at the finances of how this goes together. We looked at the needs of the parks maintenance people who are working in the parks and maintaining the restrooms, together with the surveys of the community. And one of the strategies that we came up with was, do we necessarily need to tear that building down in order to form a new restroom? And because it's tucked up under these trees with sensitive root zones, we decided to pull it out into a clearing so that you could see it from the trail a little bit better, so that it could be an independent building and save the current structure and clean that up and make it a maintenance storage facility for parks, for PART, because they have a lot of difficulty getting stuff through the parks from stored offsite and way down on the other end of the park. So we're going to give that over to PART and let them use that for maintenance, and it will also have some other things that we're going to need to make this restroom a little bit more functional as far as utilities go. And then pull it down the hill a little bit. And so it's on the new accessible sidewalk that was put in very recently, and it's a fully accessible restroom. So here's a close-up of it, and that's the relationship that you're seeing. So one of the things that we really looked at was, how can you take a building that is what looks very dark and dim and unsafe to us and pull it apart a little bit so that we can get a little light and air and reduce some of the smell that's associated with public restrooms. So we have a strategy of pulling the roof up and making it sort of an awning for shelter from the sun and the rain, but we're going to allow the wind to pass through this and carry some of those breezes through and the odors out. So you're seeing protection from the sun along this way and a carrying of the wind through the project going that direction. If you look at the actual plan, we try to be as efficient as we could with plumbing systems and the way that we've set this up so that there are no places to hide. It is very exposed. You do have the privacy once you're in the stalls. And all of the mechanical systems are sort of pulled into one spine that goes down here. So the blueprints you're seeing are along water, lavatory, the sink where you wash your hands, and that's outside of the restroom. And then you have 3 stalls, and one of them is a family stall, so that it's large enough to fit strollers and all of that business, and it's accessible. And then we have the sink that's inside there so that you can, that's helpful when you have kids on the trail with the strollers. We can shut the whole thing down. It is lockable at night by the Parks Department for safety reasons. But the dash that you're seeing over it is the sun and rain protection. What you'll see on the side here is just some more examples of different ways that we can detail some of this. This is the roof configuration. What we're looking at here is what if we had balloon tile. It's a little reflective of the water. It's something that stands out amongst the green of the park. And this is the part that allows the wind to pass under and through it. The examples on the side are just sort of different ways that you can bring color into that tile roof. This is a rendering of, and it looks a little foreshortened, I think. It's actually a little bit longer than this, but this is what it is. It's our little concrete jewel underneath the canopy of blue tile. And these are some studies that show you a little bit more of the form and how these pieces work together. Okay, now we will field some questions.
What is the little blue part on the right side?
That's the sink actually passes all the way through.
Oh, okay.
So it has, it continues all the way through the line. Yeah, and there is a water fountain. It's not shown in here because we're still sort of working out how all of this works together with the structure, but there will be a water fountain as well.
My question.
Sorry, just to finish that question up. So we have it looking through the other side too, and the idea was that on the west side of the trail there is a rock where people leave found things. Like if you lose your keys, everyone knows to go look for them there. And we thought that we could create an opportunity to have a little bit of a ledge where it could be our side, right? On the east side, you have a lost and found kind of place for that.
Yes.
One of the issues with the current restrooms and as far as I know, all of the water fountains on the east side is when it freezes, they have to turn them on. Is this going to be sort of insulated in some way so that they don't have to turn them on?
Yeah.
I believe that will be a continuing policy.
Yeah, and park and better
So is that
maybe.
Is that a policy or is that a physical?
I think
it's not a policy. I think it's just a physical condition.
Physical constraint, yeah.
Yeah.
To be able to prevent pipes from bursting. Sorry.
Yeah, my question from the very beginning was there any discussion about whether this is the optimal site for this facility?
We have talked about that a lot. We are keeping it in the general vicinity of where the existing one is because of where the sewer line is. Within that, we did explore trying to find an open area where we are closer to the water, closer to the sidewalk, and away from the root zones. Are you thinking more, is it completely different?
We live over there and near there, and as you go east from there, there's a lot of people who use the parking area down there and the lawn and the tables down there.
Right.
And they don't have a facility. I mean, it's a relatively short walk down here, but I guess the issue comes down to this is one bathroom facility, and where are the others going to be? I don't want to go into that, but that's clearly part of the dynamic.
I think maybe Ray can speak to
so one of the way this project's kind of appeared onto the scene, if I can say it that way, is that when the master plan was completed, the community wanted some very specific improvements done within the Holly Shores Park. That was included in the master plan. And one of those was to replace that restroom facility, or this restroom facility. When the priority based on the budget was determined, this restroom facility fell out because we didn't have the budget for it. And so, fortunately for us, the Trail Foundation stepped in and said, hey, we can provide the restroom facility that wouldn't fit with your budget at this location. And so that's how this project kind of came to be.
I'm aware of that, and my question is purely one of curiosity about how, what the linkage is between other areas that also require restroom services, because I think if you look for the next restroom going east along the trail, it's not close by.
Right.
Yeah, it's quite a ways down there.
Yeah. So some of the other aspects, I'd like to run this up, but yeah. The Nash Fernandez building, which is further down, is intended to be open to the community. And inside that structure, there's hopefully will be a restroom facility. After that, there's a restroom facility at, trying to get my bearings here, at the Camacho Rec Center. There's one outside there. Then as you go along, there's one outside at the southern end of the Mets Recreation Center. And then I think that's the last one on the north side of the trail. Yeah.
And as the Trail Foundation, we have identified the area at Pleasant Valley and Lakeshore as another potential restroom location for the future. That's one of our 15 projects that we've listed for our 15th anniversary. We're always open to assessing and looking at the needs of the area. I mean, we've done 3 restrooms, this will be our 4th, so we're obviously in the business of providing potties. So we're always, in our 15 projects, Heidi likes to say it's a tool, not a rule. We're always open to considering other potential projects. For us, it's a matter of funding and bandwidth. So, I'd love to hear more about what areas you think there could be more restrooms on that side. We know that we've looked at drinking fountains for sure because they kind of fall off the more east you get. Like to figure
As you get older, you need a restroom about every 15 feet.
We hear you.
No other questions?
No, I'm immensely grateful to the Trail Foundation for doing that. I'm not trying to be critical, I'm just wondering.
Well, we are too. Like Ada said before, we are both users of this area a lot. 3 times a year, I find myself down there from before sunup to after sun goes down for 2 or 3 days in a row. And so I'm very familiar with the area. I think the key was we wanted to make sure that it was going to be a place that met the needs as much as we could of the community with light and air and make it a place that is not so unpleasant to be. I think that was sort of besides the functionalism of the plumbing itself in the existing restroom. I think it's not a very pleasant place to be.
Talk a little bit more about the lighting. You talked about the openness, so
Right.
a lot of it would be natural light during the day, but then
Yes.
what happens later?
There is what we're planning for right now, and you should also know that phase-wise, this is as far as we are. We will move into developing the design next, and then drawing the drawings for construction after that, and then construction. So the thought here is that we could have some lighting that is on the tops of the walls. The walls are not closed in on the top. That's what you should know. It's open to the underside. So you'll be looking at the underside of this tile roof. And the thought is that there would be lights on top of the walls that would light up to the underside of the roof so that you're getting some indirect lighting in there. And it is not spraying out because we want dark skies and we need to be conscientious about what we're spraying out light-wise into the parks at night. So that's the lighting plan. It is not completely worked out yet, but we want it to be bright enough to be safe and enough daylight to get in there during the day that we don't have to use any additional energy.
And constantly on or motion activated?
At night, I don't think we've worked through all of that, but we are working through that with the Trail Foundation and the Parks Department to be consistent with their updating of their safety rules. And there's actually a sort of safety code that is recommended for the restrooms that we are going through and tuning our project against that, as well as the parks maintenance groups that have to make sure all this stuff is well protected at night as well.
And timeline?
That's an excellent question. Lisa's not here.
We're looking to start construction early in 2019.
So after the first of the year.
If I understand, then there's no roof on the structure.
Mm-hmm.
So that whole very artistical part of the top part there is intended to keep it dry inside?
It will be
Mostly.
fully covering.
But the idea is that if some water gets in there, it's not the end of the world either. So if you visit some of the other restrooms, you'll see that there are openings. So everything in there is waterproof, and it will help with the circulation of the air and the feeling inside there. But it will be mostly protected.
In Texas weather.
Yeah, so when rain goes actually up and sideways. I'm not sure how that works. But, it does happen from time to time. Okay.
Anything else?
Great.
Thank you.
We'll be sending
We're happy to
out
share it.
a follow-up survey. We're going to upload the video and the presentation, and then we'll send out the survey to everybody that was here, and you can provide feedback, anything else that comes to mind. That'll be a place for you to record that, and that'll be open for a week and a half. I can't remember the exact date that it closes, but we'll say it in the survey.
And it's in English and in Spanish, so if you know of anybody that needs the Spanish version, it's available.
Are you going to put this out in the public soon?
Yes,
And
the survey will
let
do.
them start throwing darts?
Yeah.
The survey will be open to everybody, and we'll put it through social media, and PARC will also help.
I predict that will be a lot of discussion. It's because people are involved.
Because people what?
People are involved.
That's right. Yes, we have more clients this time than we usually do in our projects. Almost everybody in the world.
Where is
potentially a
the
client.
counter on this section of the trail, so I'll make sure I walk by it?
There's a counter at Pleasant Valley at the bridge. We're trying to gather user data for how many people are crossing the Pleasant Valley Bridge, the dam there. We're hoping to put in another counter at the lagoon, where there's that lovely little bridge that crosses the outlet to the lake. But right now, we just have the one at the dam. There's also one that records the usage of the boardwalk. That's on the west side of I-35, but it catches all of the people that are using the boardwalk as a way to get from west to east or east to west.
So I'm not being counted now, but that's okay. That's all right.
I have a generic question, and this is not the proper place to bring it up. I'm just got some of the people in the room that could comment. The biggest stopgap on that trail right now, in my view, is crossing Pleasant Valley, crossing the dam.
Right.
Scary.
It's dangerous.
Yes.
Scary.
So I can speak to that just for a moment. When we were looking at our 15 projects, one of our projects was actually 3 crossings, 3 bridges. Some kind of a north-south pedestrian or cyclist crossing at I-35, one from the gazebo little outlet island across to Holly Shores, and then doing some kind of a solution at Longhorn Dam, and we were going to study all 3. As we dug into that further, we discovered that really there's already a solution being planned by TxDOT for I-35, and there are some solutions being worked upon right now for safer crossings at Longhorn Dam.
Yeah.
Those solutions already really exist in the hands of the Active Transportation Department. And so while since there's already something kind of in play, we're sitting at the table in those conversations. We're not taking the lead on them. But there are 3 different concepts that we've seen that they've shown to us that they're working to pursue and find some solutions. Everyone agrees that that area is the biggest issue.
I believe they're setting up a public meeting for that in the next couple of months to present those concepts.
So which department is that you want to get on the?
Transportation.
Transportation.
So the state and the city.
Active Transportation. That's city.
It's part of Public Works, right?
Yes.
It's both Public Works and the Transportation Department are working together on that. And also Austin Energy is part of that as well.
It's very complicated because there's the dam people involved and the water people involved and the park people and the public works people, the transportation people.
And they've all got money, so it's okay.
Some of them do. Some of us are.
The only thing public that I've seen was a couple of years ago that they were going to reduce the traffic to 1 lane of traffic in each direction, which, and that's not tonight's topic, but that wouldn't do anything for that crossing on the trail. And I said dangerous, and I mean dangerous. I mean, someday somebody's going to go off that thing.
We had a similar issue on Lamar, and that from there came Booger Bridge.
And that's been a great game changer.
Good solution.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, some of the concepts are really great for Longhorn Dam. So the ball is rolling. Well, thank you all for
Thank you
being
for
here
coming.
tonight.
We met on Saturday morning.